Welcome to the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Tony Jacobs. This podcast is not just about making money. It's about creating a legacy that stands the test of time. From analyzing market trends to mastering negotiation skills, we will leave no stone unturned as we guide you through different stages of real estate investing. We will bring on industry leaders and share stories from the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So now, it's time to level up your real estate game. And there's no better way to do it than right here with us at the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast.
I want to welcome everybody to the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm with CJ Ledy. How you doing, CJ?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Tony.
No problem. We finally got together and everything. So I want to tell a little bit about the world about you just for a quick minute. This is CJ. He's done over $100 million in total sales in real estate. He's got his own podcast called The Mindset. The Mindset is our podcast. Wow. I mean, you even had your own book. That's even great right there, too. So tell the world about you. How did you get started in real estate?
Yeah, appreciate it, Tony. I actually grew up in a real estate household. So I was fortunate that from an early age, I kind of saw what went into it. My grandparents were real estate agents and invested in some single family stuff. And my dad owned a few buildings, more industrial and manufacturing. And my mom's a big real estate agent as well. So kind of growing up, I always had an eye on real estate a little bit. And when I was in college, I was kind of starting to think about, what path that I want to take for my life. And I was thinking a lot about the lifestyle that I wanted to lead and, the flexibility I wanted to have and income and all that kind of stuff. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that being a real estate investor was kind of the ticket to having the freedom, having the income, having the lifestyle that I really felt like I was looking for. So, in college, I decided I was going to go out and get my real estate license. I started selling some homes. I was about 18 years old, which is about 15 years ago now. I'm 33. And I went to college in Denver, but moved back to Minnesota, which was where the family was kind of had the little bit of roots selling some real estate, and sold a bunch of homes there. Started picking up some single family properties, doing some flips and things like that. And then probably about 6 years ago, I moved out to California and started selling commercial real estate. I always knew too, I said, if I want to be a real estate investor, I should understand the commercial real estate side. I mean, that's really where you gotta, all those deals, you got to understand the underwriting, you got to understand profit and loss statements, and you got to really look at it through an investor eye, which is a little bit different than what you'll experience in the residential real estate sales world, where it's a lot more based on comparative market analyses, and you're dealing with a more emotional seller and buyer base based on where somebody wants to raise their family and that kind of thing, versus when you're buying and selling with property owners. The primary focus is the investment from the income and expense standpoint and what the real return on investment is. So started doing that for a while. And then since then I've invested in an RV park out in California. And then I just bought another one here in Utah, which is where I'm at right now. I own and operate a 60 space park here that I bought in August, which has been going really well. It's a fun spot. And I've got a handful of other investments too. I've partnered in an apartment building, and I still have some of those single family rentals and a couple other little things, but that's kind of the gist. Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge portfolio right there. And then you have it in different states also. That's huge right there. What would be, with navigating with all of that, what would be the biggest challenge that you've experienced with acquiring with real estate?
Biggest challenge? Well, there's a handful of obstacles that everybody's got to overcome. It's, getting the right capital in place, finding the right deals, all the basics. But I would say that the biggest challenge that I face, and I think that everyone faces, starts right upstairs. It's in the mind. I think that, there's plenty of blueprints out there on how to become a real estate agent or investor. And, it's not rocket science, right? Raise enough capital, find the right deal, make sure that it cash flows, manage the property. It's not overly complicated, but there, are plenty of roadblocks that your mind can put up. and ways that the mind can keep you from doing what you know you should to take care of your family down the road and to invest in, all the things that we all kind of know. But there's a lot of limiting beliefs that can come up, and a lot of navigating of your own mental space that needs to be done. And so that's the real estate has been kind of my cash focus, the place that I've made money. But another big focus of mine is in coaching. It's in mindset coaching. And like you said, I wrote a book. It's called Tune Your Mind: Finding Follow Through and Fulfillment in the Dawn of Distraction and Disruption. It's really about how to take a goal or an important dream in your life and how to wire your mind around its successful completion, how to overcome your limiting beliefs, how to understand why you're doing it, establish some clarity, momentum, all the different pieces to it. So I think that the biggest challenge is really just keeping your mind in the right place. I'm 33 years old, and when I was in my earlier 30s, I was kind of making a couple smaller investments here and there, but I had the knowledge, I had the skill set, I had the access to capital. I'd done over $100 million in commercial and residential deals. Like I had everything that I needed, but I was hesitating because I was scared. Honestly, I was scared, and I was like, I'm not old enough to do this. And, I just had all these excuses. And it wasn't until I really kind of slowed down and looked at it and just said, you know what, the only thing that's stopping me now, it's not knowledge, it's not access to resources, it's fear. And, when I saw that, I kind of took it head on and said, let's do this thing. So I think a lot of people, it's fear that stops us more than anything from, becoming successful, anything, but especially in real estate, you're taking on some risks. And so you gotta, be wise, but also, move with courage.
That's true. I'm glad, because I'm gonna have to get your book, because I'm a huge person when it comes to mindset, because the way you shift your mindset, you have to be around the right people too, like where you want to be at in your part of life. I've always thought of that mind shift. It plays a huge role in like everything that we do, like especially with you in your endeavors in real estate investing. Like that mind shift is completely different from a person who works a 9-to-5 job. So cool. This you're doing on your own, gathering the capital, studying the properties that you want to acquire, make sure that you're going to get enough profit, enough capital coming out of the properties. So I always had as a mindset, a huge component in everything. Like you said, anything that you do in life, the mindset shift is huge as to your endeavors and how far you can go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to read your book.
Yeah, man. That'd be great.
And so when it comes to the with real estate and everything, especially this is one of my main questions I've been asking a lot lately since it's been the change of the guard and everything. How do you think right now, forecasting wise into the future, how do you think in the real estate investing sector, how do you think it's going to be with us having a new president?
I think that we're moving into a more favorable real estate investing market than we've seen historically, but it's tough to say. Everybody's angle is different based on where you're at and what you're looking for. You don't ever want to really think of a market as a good market and a good time to be investing, or a bad market and a bad time to be investing. There's just different opportunities at different times. We've experienced a high interest rate market for the last several years, the last couple of years, and that's really shifted where the dollars have moved. And, coming from the commercial real estate side, previous to the interest rate hike, we saw an interest rates dip down, which puts more money into the market. It makes it easier for people to pay more money for properties. So we were seeing things sell for crazy numbers that they weren't, nobody was offering. A handful of years prior, stuff was just flying off the shelves. As far as, my specialty is in RV parks, mobile home parks, and self-storage facilities, but I keep a close eye on multifamily and, even just single family residences that turn into rentals and things like that. And it was, record sales prices, everything was going for crazy numbers. You'd come to a seller and you'd go, yeah, here's $10 million for the property that they thought was $6 million. And it was a couple of years prior because interest rates were so low. We had really favorable tax incentives, and then we saw things shift a little bit in the last couple of years. Obviously, interest rates rose, which put a lot of pressure on some owners. So this is why, that was an easy time to buy, but you also had to compete against all these buyers that had,
Yes.
a lot of money in their pockets. And you had sellers who were starting to get a little bit more excited about the fact that their properties were worth more. So you're having to pay higher and higher prices. So, just in the last year, we've finally seen some, prices come down a little bit. We've seen, it was a part of why I was able to purchase this property. You see some owners who had adjustable rate mortgages and they got stuck with high interest rates on, on loans that they weren't expecting to have to pay that much on, that they took out, in the 3s and 4s, and now they're paying 7 and 8. And so, some of those guys went upside down and had to sell their properties. So, access to capital was a little bit more limited, but you also saw opportunities come around. So as we move into this next phase, we are seeing interest rates ease a little bit, 10-year treasuries coming down. And I think that will likely continue to happen. Obviously, there's no crystal ball. Anything could happen economically that can shift all of that in a moment. But I do believe that we will see through the Trump organization more positive incentives for investors, probably increases in bonus depreciation and ways to, really, really take advantage of a lot of the tax incentives and other things that will come down the line. So I think that we will move into a more favorable investment market as far as everybody having access to capital. But I do think that with that, like I said before, it increases sellers' desires to get higher prices and a handful of other factors that can make it a little bit more complicated too. So.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of people, they live in the past when COVID was around in 2020. So those interest rates, when people were getting, I seen it as low as one person, he got a home for 1.99 in interest rate. And I tell people that's never going to happen again. I said we had a worldwide pandemic that changed the global scale completely of everything, how it's done. And I said that was an opportunity for everybody to buy. And like you said, the competition was ferocious with, people coming left and right. You have so many bids and so many offers that they didn't know what to do. Right. So that was a time to bank on. And I'm with you too. And I've talked to a couple other people about it. I think like the interest rate may come down a little bit more, but it's not going to be nothing drastic like it was in 2020, 2021, but it's going to be subside like right there. And still, it's still a great market. Like when our parents when they bought homes, they were looking at 15, 16, 17% interest rates.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's an important thing to be aware of, that we probably won't see them go that low again. And if we do, it is the byproduct of another issue economically. Interest rates are a function of the Fed trying to stabilize inflation and deflation. And so when you see interest rates go that low, it's a byproduct of economic instability and trying to keep people in the market. So you're also going to be combating against, difficult external factors too. So that's why I say I try not to look at the market as ever a good time or a bad time to invest. There's always opportunities. About understanding where you are currently economically and making a wise decision based on that.
Yeah, me and you in the same accord, because I tell people they always ask me, is it a good time or bad time? I said, it's always a great time. It's just you need to negotiate the numbers. What numbers is going to benefit you and the other person the right way?
Exactly. Yeah. They also say too, you hold on to anything for 10 years, you'll look like a genius.
Yes.
So as long as you can cash flow and, survive through the ups and downs of the real estate market, if you can hold on to stuff for a long enough period, the general trend is that everything appreciates, so long as you don't buy a really, awful property in a bad location that degresses. But, in general, if you can hold on to a decent property in a decent location for long enough, you will come out ahead.
And that deals also too with your mindset, and it deals with dedication and being determined. You got to put your foot down too. Yeah, because there's going to be trials and tribulations, but you got to look at the bigger picture, what the outcome could be.
Totally. And it's a long game. It's real estate investing. I don't think it should be looked at as just, everybody's different, but I think it should be looked at as a long-term game. You should always be in the game. You should always be looking at deals. You should always be thinking through the metrics of it all. and being ready to act when the time is right. And, sometimes you will have really favorable opportunities, and sometimes it'll just be, tougher deals that you try to pull together. But as long as you kind of keep your head in the game, you continue to hit singles and doubles. And eventually, every once in a while you might hit a home run, but as long as you're staying in the batter's box, you got a chance to get some good deals.
Great. Very true. Very true. What habits or routines has helped you succeed in real estate investing?
I would say it's consistency over anything else. It's showing up on a daily basis and, knocking down whatever tasks kind of stand in front of you. I mean, from a real estate agent standpoint, it's phone calls, it's emails, it's knocking doors, or, driving properties and all that kind of stuff. It really is a numbers game in a lot of ways. As a real estate investor, it's a little bit more of networking, researching the right properties, kind of doing your homework, being ready, making sure you've got your capital in place, all those types of things. So there's a little bit different fundamentals that consist of the different hats that you wear. But, from a personal habit standpoint, it's more for me about keeping my mindset straight. So the 5 tenets in my book that you wrap around any goal, one is the purpose behind it. So why are you doing it? So I'll try to think through all these things before I sit down to work. It takes, 30 seconds or whatever it is. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I going to do? That's the clarity. So I've got a couple long-term goals and then a few shorter strategy goals to get there. And so I'll just think real quick, okay, where am I going? What steps am I going to take to get there? And then the momentum piece. So the action, how much action are you going to put in that day? Maybe you sit down, you go, you know what? I need to log 6 hours today. I need to do 15 emails. I need to do X, Y, Z. That's the action piece. Then the E's is the empowering beliefs. What kind of beliefs are empowering you? And are there any limiting beliefs that you might need to kind of navigate around? But refreshing yourself of, hey, especially at this point, it's like, okay, you've done a couple of deals like this, you've helped some people in these areas, X, Y, Z, you kind of remind yourself some empowering beliefs. And then the final is necessity. So why is what you're doing a necessity, not just kind of a desire, not a hope, but something that needs to happen for your life? What are the benefits of you following through on these goals versus the consequences of you being a little lazy today and falling short?
Mm-hmm.
Who in your life that you care about is affected by these things? How is your wealth affected in the long term? What opportunities does this give you in your health and your hobbies and everything else if you can really crush it today and this week and this year? So I try to refresh myself on those 5 things: the purpose, the clarity, the momentum, the ease, and the necessity. And that kind of just keeps me going. Some days I wake up and I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything today.
Yes.
But, you got to
Mm-hmm.
spend a few minutes and just dust off, the parts of your brain that go, oh yeah, this is important. And I do want to do this. I do enjoy this. But, the mind can get in the way of that.
Very true. Very true. And I like you said, it's consistency. Like as long as you stay consistent at it, because like you said, there'll be days where you wake up, you just like, you don't want to do nothing. You don't want to do nothing at all, but you got to push yourself. Don't over push yourself, but push yourself enough where you get on your 10 toes and keep on going and pushing.
Totally. Yeah, show up.
Is always. And I was thinking too, also with a person listening to the show and they seen that you've acquired all the real estate, and especially in different states and everything. What would be a way for them to get into real estate? As I should put it, what way for them to break that hurdle? So basically what I mean by that is I know a lot of people who want to get in real estate investing, but they don't even know where to start. Like they don't even know where to start one at. What would you think from your journey, what would be the best way for somebody to get into real estate investing? It doesn't matter so much like multifamily or RV or if they had a whole bunch of homes, but what would be a way for them to get into real estate investing?
Yeah, great question. I think that it starts with understanding what your goal is in real estate investing. For some people that might be to own one single family house that they rent, and that's their goal, and they're happy with that being their portfolio. Some people it's a multifamily building of 30 plus units, or for some people it's $100 million portfolio. It's what is your goal, and I think based on your goal, it sets up the strategy that you should take to go after that. So my goal is a big portfolio. And so I have kind of taken the approach that in order to manage, invest in, and cash flow a large portfolio of a handful of different investment types and properties, I need to know what the heck I'm doing really well, because I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take on a pretty substantial amount of debt in order to do it, and I want to do it right. So for me, it's been spending as much time as possible learning the ropes. So I, was selling residential real estate for a while, commercial real estate for a while, meeting all these guys, learning as much as I could, studying the underwriting, studying economics, learning as much as I could to take that on. Now, if your goal is to, say, own a duplex where you're going to live in one side and rent out the other, and maybe you'll add one or two more down the road, you don't need to take as aggressive of an approach to, commit 30 to 40 to 50 hours a week learning to get yourself in position to go out and do the right things. You may just be able to, listen to podcasts like this, go on YouTube, look all this stuff up, do your homework on where to invest in your neighborhood and XYZ, and start searching the MLS and searching Zillow for opportunities, and start to really think through the numbers on a duplex or whatever it is. And that could be enough to go out and make a good investment for a duplex. So I really think that it's more about what your long-term goal is that can set you up on the path for how you want to strategize. If you have big dreams of owning a lot of real estate, I think you got to commit yourself. You really got to spend at least 5 years learning the industry. And maybe that's taking on a job where you work in, financing for real estate deals as a lender or whatever, or you go be a real estate agent, or take on some job where you can earn money in the process of learning how to go out and be an investor. So it just depends on your long-term goals as far as the strategy that I think you need to take. If you already have another great job and you just have some extra money that you want to invest, pick up some good books about real estate investing, go drive properties, go look at open houses, go start doing the numbers, and figure out how to underwrite. And, if you can do so appropriately risk level for what you can afford, jump in, buy something and start managing it, and start small enough that you can take out a bite that you can chew and swallow, and, continue to build from there.
That is some great advice right there, CJ. I like everything that you said. It deals with, because even like with my journey, I started my journey with a friend. I told him I was really interested just in real estate in general. He taught me and everything. And then I had a mentor who's helped me. I still call him mentor to this day, even though he's like, Tony, we're great friends. But like you said, but you have to study, and you have to be dedicated to it. And your, like you said, it's your end goal, because everybody's goal is different especially when it comes to this. Like how much do you want to make per month or per year? How much capital do you need to build up? How long, and especially with commercial real estate, like there's always an exit plan. How long you want to have the property? You want to have it between 3 to 5 years. So there's all different types of factors, but you got to take it in increments, and little bite sizes, I say, because it's so vast, it's so large when it comes to in real estate investing in itself.
Totally. Yeah.
So if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice in real estate, what would it be?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Attention realtors. First impressions are so important for real estate sales. Having a clean logo with easy-to-read information can impress a buyer and potentially get you that sale. Here at Boundary Waters, we excel at first impressions. If you need a logo or lawn signs, give us a call. Our experience at signs and banners have been proven for over a decade. Give us a call at 530-221-2151. Again, that's 530-221-2151. Boundary Waters Screen Printing, home of the Surf Ninja. www.boundarywatersinc.com.
I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I hear a lot of guys kind of get a similar question. A lot of times the answer is buy more sooner. I wish that I would have started buying real estate sooner. And I like that. But also, I believe that it really, like I said earlier, it comes down more to the fear around what you're up to. I think that you do want to obviously buy as early as you can do, as early as you can do so wisely, right? So
Yes.
I'm much more of the perspective that everything in the right time. And that's why I talked about setting a farther out goal, understanding what your vision is. So for me, my goal is $100 million portfolio by the time I'm 50. So I
That's a
have
great
that
goal.
goal. Thank you. So I have that goal, and I've had that for probably about 10 years now. And I've kind of incrementally broken down how that looks, how big my portfolio needs to be at each stage, the things that I need to learn along the way to get there. And I'm not in a rush to reach that. I know that I definitely believe that I will be able to reach that, but I'm not expecting that all to happen in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. I've got a ramp up period that I need to go through. And like, this is the biggest real estate investment that I've made, is this RV park here. And I'm not going to look at buying anything. I'm still going to stay in tune with the market, but I'm not going to look at buying anything until I've gone through probably at least one tax season, but ideally two. I understand what it's really like to run this thing, what it's really like to manage my staff, what it's really like to season a few different, ups and downs with our guests and things like that before I'm going to go out and try to replicate this thing. And once I really understand this block, then I'm going to stack on top of it, and I'm going to scale, and I'll do a bigger property, and I'll get that one for a couple of years. And at that point, I'll be in a position to say, okay, now I can start to scale a little bit more quickly. I've got the understanding. I've got the team in place, from all my accountants to my managers to everybody, that my bookkeeping, all the people that keep the ship afloat, which is a lot of things that I'm still kind of scrambling to say, okay, I didn't think about this, or I don't understand this piece fully yet. So I need to give myself time to learn before I go out and try to scale faster than what I'm ready for. So I think that comes back to the advice that I would continue to give to myself. And I think it's one that I've followed, but maybe be a little bit more specific about it, is just to take each step wisely at the right moment and to learn as much as you can. That is the key piece. It's learning. Once you learn as much as you need to know in order to take action, then erase the fear and start to move. I could have definitely started a little bit sooner, and I'm still on track. So I'm not upset about it. That's my goal, is just to stay on track with my long-term goal. I don't want to rush myself, but I also don't want to let fear stand in the way of taking the necessary steps to get there. So that's the big piece to me. It's about learn as much as you can at each individual step. And once you have maximized the amount of information that you need to learn, you kind of know, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I've heard a lot of the same stuff. I kind of think I know what I need to do, but I'm just not really doing it. That's where fear is starting to stand in the way. Okay, figure out how to kick that door down, work with a coach, work with somebody, or figure, everybody has different ways of overcoming fear. Figure out what you need to do to kick through that door, go take the next step, and then once you're at that next step, learn everything that you need to learn there. Once you kind of maximize that, when you're kind of getting there and it's ready to take the next step, kick down that door of fear again, and keep on moving.
Yes, you're so correct. There's actually a guy named Sean from Think Media on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
and that's one of his favorite saying, punch fear in the face. And sometimes that's what you have to do. He's like, you know what, I'm just gonna punch it in the face and just go at it. And like you said, you'll learn. You'll just upgrade yourself. You keep on learning through time. Totally. So with everything that you just said, which ties in perfectly, what is some books or podcasts or resources that a person who's starting in real estate should they listen to or read about?
Yeah. Again, it's a little nuanced based on your specific focus. I think Real Estate Agents, there's really good content by Gary Keller, who started Keller Williams. Yes. He's got a handful of great books. I've really liked digesting the work of Grant Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
He does obviously a mixture of stuff, but a lot of his YouTube videos are kind of what got me started on understanding more of commercial real estate before I became an agent. He's got a lot of good content on how to underwrite deals and how to get out and look at the right properties and stuff like that. I think those two guys' work are probably my highest that I've followed. And also they both talk about mindset oriented stuff. That Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, is one of my favorite books of all time. You've got the 10X rule by Grant Cardone, which are also about, it's about productivity. It's about motivation. It's about taking action. And that is a massive component of the real estate industry, whether it's investing or being an agent, whatever part that you're going to involve yourself in. As an entrepreneur, which is really what, being in the real estate industry is, it's about self-motivating. It's about taking action. It's about getting yourself to move. So, I think that those are great resources because, like we said, there are little nuances to understanding the real estate world, but it's not rocket science. No. A lot of it really is more of you understand the basics and then take action, start moving, find the right opportunities, get out there in the field. So, I think those two resources are really good. And obviously, if you like my stuff, I've got my book here, Tune Your Mind.
Yes. And
the Mindset is Art podcast. A lot of it's more mindset and psychology based to talk a little bit about real estate. But at the end of the day, it's about, lining up your mind to go out and do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan. You're right. When in mindset, like I actually listen to it probably every couple of weeks. He has a book about motivation. And I actually listen to that all the time, no matter what I'm doing. So he plays a huge component even with me getting into real estate. With my friend who told me, he's like, you know anything about Grant Cardone? And I was like, no. And then I started watching videos. I'm like, Grant's the truth. That's what I told him after I was watching all the videos. They said he's the truth. He said, make sure as long as those numbers are right, you're good to go. I mean, and there's other factors too, but that was one of the main things. As long as the numbers speak for itself, then you're good to go with getting properties.
Totally.
So what's the best way for people to reach you, CJ?
Handful of ways. You can go to my website, cjledy.com, and that has access to a bunch of my other resources of my book, which is on Amazon. I also have an audiobook on Audible. You can find my podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other places that podcasts are hosted. You can email me at coach@cjledy.com. I'd love to hear from anybody who's whether it's in real estate or just life in general, mindset stuff. Love to chat with people. I do work with agents and investors to provide coaching one-on-one. So if anybody's interested in that, feel free to reach out as well. I'd say those are the main channels. You can really find everything through my website and get a hold of me through there. Love to chat with anybody who's interested.
I'll make sure I put those in the notes. Everybody, this is CJ Ledy. And he, like I said, he is the host of Mindset is Art podcast, which I'm going to have to check out most definitely. And his book, Tune Your Mind. So both of those right there. I'll put everything in the show notes for everybody. CJ Ledy, it's an honor and a pleasure having you on the podcast. I benefited a lot from this podcast, all your knowledge and information and everything.
Absolutely, Tony. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Everybody have a blessed day. Subscribe, like the Professional Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'll be putting content out all the time. Not just a couple of days, all the time. But I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, CJ, and everybody have a blessed day.
Thanks, everybody.
In the fast-paced world of real estate, success hinges on information. Introducing PropStream, your all-in-one real estate solution. Find properties, analyze markets, and generate leads effortlessly. With PropStream, you're always one step ahead. Access it anytime, anywhere, and watch your business thrive. Don't miss out on the future of real estate. Get started with PropStream today. Visit trial.propstreampro.com/Tony Jacobs for a 7-day free trial and revolutionize your real estate game. PropStream, your key to real estate success. Don't wait. Start now.